This is Weird Renegade Witches blog. Hit us up when you want some real motherfucking work done. Of course, go to the Weird Renegade website. See the phone number there. Of course, with email, understand if you want me to look at anything with the email address, you have to make sure to text me and say, hey, look at your email. However, if you really want to send information to me and so on, of course, I say to go to the Instagram, in addition to, of course, texting, but in reference to one-on-one monthly lessons, of course, that has already started. So hit me up for the one-on-one monthly lessons. However, that is separate from the energies that I work with individuals very closely, very frequently, sometimes every day, sometimes on an hour. It depends. Advocating, so on, talking to them about the various frequencies that's going on with whatsoever cases, even guidance of whatever their business energies are, doing energies of what is it? All type of shit that I do. However, also understand that work is separate from one-on-one, but however, at times work will go hand in hand, but understand that's at a different cost. And when I'm talking work, you know I'm talking spell work, which is separate from, of course, the one-on-ones. I deal with all type of energies, people going through demon shit, all that shit, court cases, it all. However, you already know that wayward is that indie world of occultism, that underground frequency. And you know art is occultism. Occultism is a motherfucking art. And as you already know, wayward is about that revenge, redemption, and motherfucking responsibility. However, I had to put on my him wig. I had to put on my darker side of Jesus wig. I had to put on my darker side of Jesus lipstick because I have some energies. I have some questions. I'm frustrated with Black people and our energies, right? So you're going to hear all this noise in the back because I guess they doing whatever they're doing. Look. Yesterday or last night, my Taurus and I went to see the movie Him. Marlon Wayans, Julia Fox, and I believe this person is Tyreek Withers. And it was talking about the darker side and ritualistic world of football and or just sports, right? But not really. However, I don't want to go through rituals and, oh my God, this is satanic and all that shit. I want to go through the fact that I am so motherfucking disgusted with Black people. I don't understand how in the hell, if we are practicing the darker side of Jesus, how in the fuck do you get your asses involved in pig magic and contracts and signing on a dotted line and your motherfucking devil or some damn white people that you didn't sign a goddamn contract for doing all these goddamn sacrifices? When we monopolize the darker side of Jesus, how in the fuck did that happen? Anytime I see pig shit, I already know it's pig magic. What the hell? And the funny thing, what I took out of that movie, you gotta follow the money, that they were mocking the old school ritual industry. Okay, therefore it is no more. They just don't put shit out unless they're done with it, because at this point we are under the energies of Asia. So we are in the New Testament where we are under the contract of Asia, the sponsor of Asia, and the control of Asia. It doesn't matter if they Middle Eastern, because the Middle Easterns and Israel, all of that, everybody's calling themselves Asia. Okay? Indian Asians don't matter. We under the book of Asia. We are in the Revelations. Where I'm disgusted is the bottom line is, as melanated Black people, indigenous Black people, whatever you want to call yourselves, we have our own religion. Okay? And especially if we're going to follow the biblical or Bible words and frequencies, We practice differently, and we are supposed to be under a different foundation. And if you're going to sit up and practice the darker side of Jesus, then practice that shit. Stop playing with these white folks, because now they done made a mockery of the religion, and now they're putting you under Asia, where you over here practicing Islamic bullshit, yoga bullshit, and now all you niggas are under that shit getting sponsored. Okay? Then you have the continent of Africa that's sitting up there following the philosophy, the philosophical philosophies of the whole culture, but the audacity to come back into the United States and say, we don't have a culture, or we have a culture. You the guys over there doing, what is it, balloon, what's it, pop the balloon Congo. I was so pissed off. I was looking at China, and they was in the sea. Did y'all see the senior home? And the guy was up there rapping and shit. The Asian guy. They always over there stealing our whole frequency, but we get talked about. We got white pagans and supposed warlocks and witches who believes that they are the thee to the thou to the thou to the thee, and the razzmatazz. And the razzmatazz of it all. And always want to talk mess about what we practice, but they take our shit and then put us under it, and then say we don't know what we are doing. When I looked at that movie, I said, oh my damn. The darker side of Jesus, huh? Under pig magic. And it's so interesting, because everything, art imitates life, life imitates art. It's just a screenplay. The Last Supper, the Last Supper, what did they do at the Olympics? The Last Supper, they've been playing with games with the Last Supper. Then they go into the desert with that big ass whatever gun. That I'm going to say military gun, because I'm not educated of the different frequencies of gun. Then you have the alleged frequency that went down with that Charlie Kirk. I said, that is that gun. Is that gun. Is that gun right there. Right? Julia Fox, they made her into this black woman. I said, oh, they didn't pumped up her lips and ass and did her body again. Or is it a her? Or is it a he? I don't know. She was up there pushing yoni eggs and anal plugs and whatever, tightening, using crystals to tighten. But what in the world? Pig magic. When Marlon Wayans put that gun in his mouth and did what he do and do what he did, I was like, pig magic. Stripped the dude, the football player, what's his name? Tariq Withers down. Now he's naked and have his arms like Christ. But Christ, that when it's in his upright, that is woman. So we can understand what this is all about, right? In this movie, I feel whoever invested in it financially and who it is understood the grooming, understood the contracts, understood how everything is ran. And it doesn't matter if it's the food channel, whatever it is, it's making fun of the rituals. Then the funny thing is that when you get to the end of the movie and he wouldn't sign the contract and the guy said, we're going to kill your family, it was like that was ignored. They're getting rid of watching the kid. Now the kid is grown up and the kid been groomed and parents been sacrificed. They're getting rid of the old shit. Well, they had to get rid of that because that's not the real shit. That's under white people pig magic. Now you got black people under this feminine, for real, feminine ass shit that incorporates a whole bunch of homosexuality and trans shit, and then the innuendos. It was already insinuating in this type of structure that it was interesting shit popping off. I found it very interesting that when I kept talking about the Aryan white woman, and then one kind of had some energies in the comments talking about, well, I like blonde-headed Aryan white women with blonde hair. I'm telling you this shit for a reason, because that was the game up in that movie. It's showing you just grind, but that's pig magic, right? What is very interesting, when I looked at Marlon Wayans and I was looking at him, I said, in a minute, I'm waiting for him to come out with a damn fiddle and a fucking flute, because he looks straight up like Pan. I said, wait a minute. So I went back and I started looking at all the Wayan kids. I said, they all look like Pan. The picture that they give us of Pan, the demon of Pan. And in the movie, it was like, when looking at him in the movie, I said, what did they mount on this boy? Did he go get a damn goat and sucked out the goat's blood and used the IV and pumped it in him? Because his total features look like a fucking baby goat. Right? Then I started to wonder. I said, okay, so allegedly he's a Leo. The Leo, okay, can get into Lucifer. The sun god, the god of what? Okay? But then turning into the beast, but then the beast leading into the goat. That's an interesting energy. But I was looking at the pathways of how they maneuvered the energies. I said, well, everything makes sense now to all of his photo shoots and his behavior and the innuendos and the effeminine behavior and, his child being trans, and it makes a lot of sense. Then what I also noticed in the movie, he kept transforming into Kenan, then into Damon, into Kenan, into Damon. I was like, So I don't have really a review, and I'm not breaking down. I don't care about any of that. All I care about is the fact that now I see and understand what the fuck did we do, and how did we let these people come in and devour what we practice as the darker side. I practice Afro-Satanism. I understand the darker side of Jesus. I understand pig magic. I understand urban voodooism. Understand all that shit. Okay? Julia Fox, again, is an interesting specimen. And I said to myself, I said, just wonder if they really got a black woman to really play the for real energies. But then it walked me into something of how white women are groomers. See, somebody in my comments is always combative people. Well, black girls do guys make me black girls do guys homework too in college. Well, guess what? They ain't marrying these niggas. I'm talking about some real shit of white girls grooming black guys and doing rituals to get a hold of them and them being put in place to do that shit. Everything is not about a combative attitude. It's about listening to what the fuck I'm talking about so you can understand some frequencies. That's why football is not where it is now. They're basically demolishing it and they deflating it, and they're upping soccer and other mental sports because these things are done now. And now they're throwing it back in your face and they're mocking it. Because they're done. When I understood the contract at the end, I said, okay, Saint Michael, okay, Archangel. I'm going to call that boy Archangel. Here's something very interesting. Remember I said there are two type of Christs. Marlon Wayans played one Christ, and the Tariq played the feminine nature Christ. Because that's the real Christ. I told you there are two different Christs. One is masculine, one is feminine. One is fake, one is real. And I'm going to determine that, oh, that's the fake Christ that got murdered, fought, beat down at the end. Right? When I go back to the contract, I found it very interesting. I said, all these deaths, sacrifices, and deaths is basically under contract, and it has to play itself out. These people are still under contract. So their contract is just getting played out. Old school contracts. Patti LaBelle is under a cold contract. So much so that Netflix is doing a documentary. People don't give a fuck about Patti LaBelle like that, and I'm not being rude. That's a certain background that makes me think it's some drag queens who's financing her. Because I found that the trans and drag queens always play Patti LaBelle and Diana Ross. But notice they don't do Aretha Franklin. From time to time, you may see Shaka Khan, but you got to look at how they're pushing Patti LaBelle. That means her contract is about to be up, and they want to make sure they wear her the fuck out before they kill her off, right? People are playing out their contracts. Diana Ross is playing her contract out. Makes me wonder that Diana Ross really want to marry them white men. What? That's a cold contract, huh? That means that you would do anything that, in any means necessary, at any means necessary, right? That's what I'm learning. All of this that we're seeing, these are just people playing their contract out. Smokey Robinson, humiliation rituals, and all of this, because now people have new contracts. Miguel having a baby by an Asian lady. I'm like, what happened to his wife? He haven't divorced. That the last we heard from Miguel, he was up there talking about that they were going to get divorced, and now they're working it out. Now we're seeing he's having a baby by an Asian. Al Pacino, Asian woman. Robert De Niro, Asian woman. Andre 3000, we don't know what she is. All they say she's jealous, but it looked like she's an Asian woman or some kind. We've been having Asian Hollywood for a minute, but now it's for real being pushed. You got all these Indians and yoga shit. Asian Hollywood. Asian rituals. Now you have all this Islam and Muslim shit. Asian shit. We're going to put under Asian because they are. Because these are the new contracts. So when I talked about Phaedra Park and all these new energies, it is because they're under a new Asian contract. They're under a new Asian shit, under new Asian rituals, because we're under the New Testament, under Asia. That's why I stated they're going to open up yoga clubs. That's why you had the conscious community push Islam, Muslim, yogi shit. That's why there is so much confusion, because they knew this was uprooting. That's why they put us down during the pandemic, so they can really bum rush these people in and push in a new culture, forced culture. That's why J.D. Vance then went to Disneyland, and they were talking about, especially the one in Anaheim, that they have brought some black guys, some black gay guys to do work and shit so they could get a hold of Disneyland and start investing. When you go to a lot of amusement parks now, especially the Disneyland and the Universal Studios, it is bombarded by a whole bunch of Indians. They then stole all the black people points, meaning Christian points. That's why I talked about Reverend Ike. They then stole Reverend Ike. Then now what they do is get on social media and so on, talk about that they gurus. I've been telling you that, acting like they have so much wisdom. They go into different parts of American culture and different parts of wisdom and proverbs of our culture and then take it and say it's theirs. We don't want to tell the truth about these supposed Moors and all of that mess. We don't want to tell the truth about nothing. And all of this plays back into contract, into white people taking our shit, then putting us under our own frequencies, and then going back and manipulating us, and then being sarcastic and saying black people doing too much. You have white people saying when it comes up to our work, we're doing too much. Then now you have Asians coming in saying we're doing too much, but then you have a lot of Chinese people and shit that will go to us to get work done. Okay, but we're helping them in it, and we're helping them to thrive. Then you have I'm going to call it the yoga people. I'm going to call them the Asian Indians coming in being sarcastic, talking shit. And now they have basically have so much money, they can literally sit up there and sponsor and create these propaganda movies, because that him was a propaganda movie, but it was a mocking movie telling you this is the end of this culture because we're bringing in another culture. And they're mocking black people for being under this shit. All along, it was white people bullshitting us, and we have our own dark energies. So because we are weak in it, then they came in and basically dismantled and neutralized the whole Christian culture, and then restructured it and put it back in place with pimping and pandering and guerrilla magic. What is ever so scary is now you have male pimps getting on the streets preaching to young ladies, teenage girls. And the teenage girls are eating it up because they're looking for a father. So they out there basically corner pimping by preaching and pulling them in. Understand, everything at this point that we're seeing, it is to neutralize and devour and to mock, and then replace it and put in place the new culture. Because they're showing you that your shit doesn't work, but our shit works very well. That's why everybody steal it and take it. That's why I said, damn, we are not going to address where that Asian India really stole their frequency from. Why are we not calling out the Asian Indians who stole so much from the African people? I wouldn't trust them to finance nothing of mine or a backing, because they'll steal it. I've seen too many of these Indians, they be up all in these white people faces. But that's what it is. They're mocking. They're mocking the old ways. The Jewish people are going to be Jews. They got various holidays coming up that they practicing. I have 2 sons, and I teach my sons to stand on business with anything, with females and all. I remember my Taurus son was recently dating this girl, and he didn't understand her culture, and to find out, I said, it sounds like she's Muslim. He was like, oh, Mom, she's Egyptian, and she's such a Christian girl. I said, that's going to be a problem with you. He was like, oh, Mom, it's going to be okay. The next thing you know, she got to getting with him, telling him that he would have to change his religion to be with her. And he had to quit her. He said, I would never. Called standing on business. I cracked up in my comments. I guess I talk real bad about black men. I don't give a fuck. Because I'm a woman first, and I need to understand who in the fuck I am. I can't think about what the fuck is going on with him. He got his own shit. I had a spiritual constituents client tell me yesterday how she overheard this black man. He was so excited to go on a date with a woman, but he telling her that that the black woman just need to be watered. If he what she say, watered. So I guess he'll grow her. That's a contract. Marriage is just like pig magic. You sign your name, tell me it's my husband. Bitch, that's a pig contract. Know who you are as a woman. So the person in the comments said, well, maybe it's you. It is me. And I don't give a fuck. Shit. Am I supposed to? That's the whole problem. I should have been making it about me. Maybe I wouldn't have been through the shit that I've been through or made certain decisions. I realized I was Matthew. People out here studying the book of Matthew. Like he's righteous. No. Matthew was making money as a tax collector, getting his money, harassing people, minding his business. He seen this man called Jesus and said, fuck it. I'm going to be part of the disciples, bitch. He left his whole job to go be walking with Jesus. And then had the audacity to create a whole book of Matthew about Jesus. Obey him, walk with him. This is a whole man. That's women. Women act like Matthew. You will dump your whole life to be under contract to be a fucking disciple, and you have your own story. I want to know the book of Matthew, your story, Matthew. I don't want to know about Jesus and what the fuck you think about him. Heard what I said, him? That's a woman. Women out here acting like Matthew. Then we understand Levi and the Levites. And it will make it appear they got some fucking sense. Then maybe black people need to stop being Levi, and maybe women need to stop being Matthew. Because Moses came back and anointed the Levi. I'm going to call them the Levites. Stop playing in our faces. Because I don't know if those are hybrids. I wouldn't trust anything that had me in a fucking desert for 100 years, 100 nights. Then had the audacity to die. The fuck? They still have remnants of the pagan shit they was practicing. They so weak, they turn into Matthew. Then as soon as a motherfucker come by and said, obey me. Okay. That's why you niggas was out here signing contracts. Because you didn't know your real self and your own religion. You out here getting motherfucking married and shit under a fucking pig magic contract. You women out here getting involved in this Muslim shit, talking about it does this, it does that, Christianity, fuck it. You under contract, Matthews. Then after that, you getting under this Asian culture, talking about it's back to Africa, it's our people. But you're not practicing it in this form. Because if you was practicing it in a form, it would have a respect for a woman. Having respect for women is not having multiple women, having multiple children, and controlling a woman. But women don't see that. Because you want to be watered. You want to be controlled. You want to be preached to. But you don't know yourself as a woman because you're under pig contracts. I was talking to a spiritual constituents, and he was up there telling me how they have new medications and shots and shit for the throat, for the esophagus, because too many of you guys out there are sucking dicks and becoming mutants like a fucking sewer. Men and women. All type of sexual transmitted infections and diseases, AIDS, HIVs. Some of you guys are having anal and then sucking dick. You don't know what's in a man's shaft. You don't know what particles is in there. Some of their semen is wicked. Some of it is lumpy. Some of it will burn the fuck out of you. Your tongue, all that shit. Ugh. It's all type of drugs and shit out here. Eating habits are fucked up. Some of you niggas out here are vegans with that real light sperm shit. You don't know what the fuck is going on. Then I started thinking. I said, gold throating sound like Jonah. in the whale. And you guys out here letting people suck on your penises and dicks and shit, and they Jonah. They're bringing disease. It goes for you too, lesbians and women who like getting your vaginas licked. Why y'all sitting up there letting Jonas fuck around with your body parts and enter your body? Jonah listens to man. Remember, Jonah was angry because he felt God was doing too much, trying to make him be nice to people who are revengeful, who thinks for themselves. See, you got to watch out for a God like that who wants to change people. So Jonah was going to be that messenger, and Jonah said, fuck no. So what I'm going to do is cause disease. He jumped on that motherfucking boat and that storm was going. Instead of him just handling the storm, he went and jumped into the fucking water. He should have handled the storm. He should have stood up, right? No. He goes and jump in the water. Then here come a mark, a damn whale. Whale sucks him up. He sits in the belly of the whale, right? And as he's sitting in the whale, he has the audacity to be meditating and praying. Isn't that what people do to you that cause disease? They burrow inside of you. They sit there and pray. And as it's mutating, you getting all sick and fucked up. Because Jonah want to sit up there and pray and shit after he know he done fucked up. Then y'all all of a sudden you get sick. And then you vomit up the disease, which is Jonah. And Jonah like, I want to go on my merry way. Now let me go over here and tell these people something. That's life. We have to connect God. We have to connect dots. Jonah hated God. But is it God or is it Lord? The woman. I'm going to still go with the woman. But we're going to play games and say he hated God. So you guys out here letting motherfuckers suck your dick, lick your vagina, all this shit, and they hate God? And people who don't have a spiritual frequency to them, they're going to carry disease to you. They don't care. It's a free-for-all. They're going to transfer it. It's no thought. And then one day you're going to vomit it all out. But by then it's too late because it's already been manifesting. It's been festering in your belly. And then what they'll do is create medicines and shots, all of that. They out here creating mutant ass diseases so they can create more medicines to put you under. A social experiment. That's what those apps are about. I have a spiritual constituent and he been complaining to me about these apps and sniffies and all that shit. How all of these young Latino boys, Mexicans especially, be trying to come after him, showing they dicks, want they dicks up, want to be, fucked and all of that. Young. These apps are social experiments. Understand the frequency, right? Understand how they intentionally have Jonas lodged in your throat, lodged in your esophagus, and lodged in your belly. Again, just for you to vomit because you're sick. Rituals. Everything is a ritual. Taking shelter. Right? That's why I told you they've been using the Bible against us, period. But we've been stupid. Again, not understanding the darker side of Jesus. I've been pretty much watching this energy with this Charlie Kirk shit. This is cyber magic at its best. Everybody keep hollering the First Amendment. They have all these energies going on with what's his name? Jimmy Kimmel, and all of this. They have black students getting expelled and suspended from college and all this shit, but it's all propaganda. It's not real. Where does Jimmy Kimmel live? Is it Utah or that Idaho? Which one? They was probably going to take his ass out anyway. And this was just the way. But let's go back to Charlie Kirk. In air, and I talk about this, I call it maritime laws. There's some energies that you guys, action words or whatever words, you should really, really keep in your notes. Pandemic, executive orders, mandate, first responders, and affordable housing. Okay, I'm just going to start with that. Cyber censoring. You have to understand we are no longer in television. Like, we don't have a box. We don't have a TV screen. Is it really Honey, I Shrunk the Kids? They're around here building 5G and 6G poles and electrical frequencies. Our energies is social media and live streaming and apps and all of that. That's air. I know some of you guys have IEP meetings when I say maritime law. When I talk air, maritime law, because I am connecting water to air. Air and water goes hand in hand. I'm not talking earth. I'm saying the maritime laws, because we don't have laws in the air. This is why they can create laws, because at the end of the day, the First Amendment, that is earth. That is not in the air, because we are in the air and not on earth. I know you motherfuckers be stealing my shit. I'm just saying what it is. So therefore, Charlie Kirk was shot in the air and not on earth, not on television. It moved around social media. That is air. So therefore, they're trying to say the First Amendment does not connect what is on social media, because these are different type of laws. It's called cyber censoring. That's why they're getting rid of all of these PBSs and news and this and that, because that is on earth. They need you in the air so they can create these falsehood laws. What is happening and what they're trying to do is restructure free speech. They played you with the Democrats and they're playing you over here right now. When you start to really understand what's going on, they want to change the scope of media, okay? And they want to create new laws, the new laws of the New Testament, which is under the Asian law, which is under Asian frequencies, which is under Asian dictatorship, we have to understand what's going on, which includes Russia. The book of Matthew told you to obey. These people are having a Jesus moment. I told you what it is. They are still in the frequencies, right? So when we talk Jimmy Kimmel, we have to understand Jimmy Kimmel is Shay Whitey. I'm not being rude or disrespectful. I'm talking about there are communities in Utah and Idaho. And I forgot he was hosting a whole interesting party. It was not multicultural. I'm telling you what it is. So he's just part of it because now they want him to donate to Charlie Kirk. Allegedly, they suspended or expelled a student for reenacting the shooting. That doesn't sound right. That's his right to do that, and that's his right to talk about it. However, because someone recorded it and put it on social media, then someone can create their own laws, okay? Charlie Kirk is not my God. He's not black people God. He's not white people God. We don't even know who this man is. He has certain ideas, cool in the gang, but I think the blow up of him is social media, because there's a lot of people who don't know who he is, okay? And this is why I said they putting him in the same lines as like he's Martin Luther King or JFK or something. Like, whoa, like what happened? No, he's just another white boy that got caught up in the system who was out here talking the same frequency. Now, I thought I said David Shapiro. It's Ben Shapiro. Now, Ben Shapiro didn't uproot it, and so did Candace Owens. And what I'm saying is not wrong. It is the truth. We don't know who this is. What is his background? Some people believe he knew something. Some people believe there's something else going on. I don't know. All I know is the shit happened in air, and they are creating laws to try to censor you in cyber. Okay? So therefore, we have to understand what's going on with this, because they're playing in our face. When I seen the black guy who got expelled from college, I said he looked like he was in foster care, or where did they get him from? Some Skid Row? Because in that case, that means he has to go in front of a board. You can't just expel someone due to a reenactment. See, that's the games they playing with you. There's certain guidelines and background, and if he's in college, that means he has some kind of parents or somebody who can back him up. But because it's in air, they're giving us a facade. If they're out here terminating news anchors, was that a live stream or what was it? So we have to start to follow the talk and follow the energies. Now they got, what's his name, Kash Patel on trial. He not on trial. He's just a paid actor, and it's time for him to move on. He was acting up in that role in the first place. Matter of fact, who does he belong to? Because now they're talking about all these Patels that own all these businesses in the medical world and so on. Who is he? Right? I've been telling you there's something going on with that Patel. And more they're talking about these paid actors that's in politics. I was absolutely shocked when I heard that J.D. Vance, that name J.D. Vance, my spiritual constituents told me, and it's always taking some white people to tell on somebody, that's not his real name. Then I said, whoa, I said, that's why my spiritual constituent was talking about the clearance of these people. That she believed that some of them is not who they are. So they're alleging, saying J.D. Vance changed his name a minute ago. Then who is he? What's his real name? Who did they just elect as vice president? Right? So when we go back to Jimmy Kimmel, it looked like that they just gave him an opt-out, right? So we have to kind of be careful what's going on in this universal soul and how they're moving. People keep making a big deal about, I guess, Africa and this system that is using for the internet, and that they're on a new system that is disconnected itself from America. The bottom line is that that's social media. Is that a good thing or a bad thing, or are literally are they censoring and cutting off people from the rest of the world? Okay. However, you have New Paul, where they tried to cut off social media, period. So again, we have to be careful of what's going on in the universe, because there's a lot of cyber censoring, and again, it's connected to the air. And with social media now, they have slutted it out so that now they want to create this kind of conservative dictatorship, and is being moved on social media. It's the Hitler effect, it's the propaganda effect, but it's done through digital, through these type of frequencies. So again, when I say look at the words of the pandemic, it really was pushed during the pandemic. Social media, executive orders. What the fuck isn't it in this executive order? Mandate. What the fuck is a mandate? You see what I mean? And all of this, that we have no understanding of these type of words and how it connects to us, right? Then you have first responder. What the fuck is a first responder? Because guess what? Now police drones are considered first responders. My son was telling me they had a career day at his school, and at one of the junior colleges, they are offering drone scholarships for drone. I said, what? And then he was telling me how they had trade schools. And I said, you're taking your ass to college. We're not going to play games like that with trade. No disrespect, but we already know how they're trying to play us with that. And so he had a whole philosophy. We have to be careful with affordable housing, because affordable housing, all this bullshit that we're making affordable housing, but the affordable housing is not accepting your Section 8 or whatsoever. And maybe so many apartments will be under subsidy, but other than that, these apartments are hella expensive, right? They're starting at 2+ to 3+ to 4+. I was looking at some energies in New York, and I was like, what the hell? And Brooklyn is really off the hinges with it. And we're not going to even talk about, Manhattan, right? So we have to understand affordable housing is just code for bullshit. And we're just going to get, the funding and so on and say it's affordable housing. Everything has a code, okay? Everything we have to understand. What is also very interesting is really in air, our civil rights are being violated. But in air, there isn't any civil rights, because it's in air, it's under social media. There isn't anything put into standards to say, hey, this is what it is. There aren't any laws. There aren't any attorneys to fight what is going on with social media. Peep this. I remember there was a whole lot of shit going on YouTube, a whole lot of slander. Technically, there's nothing that can be done if someone slanders you really on social media, and they know this. So all of this made up politics, when you seeing, the Cardi B's, everybody's suing, that's on cap shit, because there aren't any laws to really state that can back you up, and they know this because everything is on earth, unless of course they can find out, they could loop that loophole. But saying shit on social media is very interesting, right? What is also very interesting is this. I started to, when I said we don't know who people are, for some reason, I went back and started studying Trayvon Martin and George Zimmerman. And my whole thing is social media is very interesting, because this Trayvon Martin energy started in social media. It didn't start on earth. It got pushed in the media. And then that's when we had our the Instagrams, the Instagram, the Twitters, and then the Facebooks, right? And then of course your YouTubes. social media pushing the frequency, pushing the concept. However, we never ask questions because I started to understand. I said, did people forget when George Zimmerman said he didn't do it? So who is this George Zimmerman? And how come nobody ever ran up on his ass? How come a whole lot of shit? Are you sure this is not an asylum-based man that was in a psych ward? And that's why he's being hidden? Or how is he protected? We're not asking these questions. I remember when they said his father adopted him. Now his father was in the military. And then, you know, the Zimmerman energy, they always say that's a German Jew. That's coming from Germany. Then I looked at his mother. I say, he sure is dark. We can misunderstand him as a Mexican or a Middle Eastern, but not a Jewish person, right? So, however, they said that his mother is an Afro-Peruvian. And I said, what is up with these Peruvian women that was on the military prostituting? Because my god sister was doing the same thing. That's how she lucked up on a military man, right? So we're not asking these type of questions because I said, then how did white supremacy come into the door? And now we're finding all this energy out. So we're unclear on this energy with Zimmerman because it seemed like it was a social media sensation because we really don't know what happened. There was no cameras, there was no cell phone, there was nothing to prove that George Zimmerman was the actual person who did this. We don't even know if that's him on the call. And there's been all type of story tales about Trayvon Martin's father. Then they come up with the older brother or whoever this is who look just like him. We don't know. This could be all bullshit. And sometimes we are afraid to say it. We don't know what's going on. We don't know what type of sacrifice. We don't know because it's on social media. And we don't want to recognize that, just like everybody now is rolling around Charlie Kirk, his birthday and everything, comparing it to George Floyd. Yeah, there's a connection. Matter of fact, they probably knew each other. Yes, there's something within the numbers. There's something within the birthday. There's something with it all. Okay? So then we have to understand what it is. It's cyber witchcraft, cyber bullshit. And you also have to understand the military practices satanic energies. Understand it, just like I was trying to tell you guys about Michael Aquino and what that energy is. The military has always practiced satanic frequencies. I was talking to someone, no, she was talking to me about Katrina, and we were talking about how the black people during Katrina were tied up, and I was saying to her how this white woman was on social media talking about that's a whole culture for the elders, black elders, to bind themselves on the ceiling and shit if there's floodings and all of that shit and being tied up. And she said she ran it across her uncle, and he said, no, that's none of that. That looked like Asian Vietnamese, because over there in that Vietnam, that's what we used to do to them. I said, oh, so they're using Vietnamese military energies. See, you got to understand what shit is. Okay? Because then we done sat up and got caught up in these new lynch cases, right? So they're out here talking about, so you got Trump talking about in Texas that this Indian was beheaded, and talking about the beheading of this man, but the man who did it did not look like he was Mexican. He actually looked like he was Ukrainian or South African. And I'm about tired of them blaming all this shit on fucking Mexicans or immigrants. That's on bullshit, and it's propaganda, and it's racial profiling. And that is a civil rights issue. And to be honest with you, Mexicans, Latinos, whatever, need to sue, because he keeps trying to cause a whole issue. Mayhem. He is what they call it, igniting a riot or inciting a riot. That's what he's doing. That's what they're putting him up to do. How do we know he was beheaded? I don't know none of this shit. All I know is they show us some shit and tell us some shit on social media. But I don't know it to be true. And then I say, oh, he's an Indian that owns a whole motels. Okay. So then we have this other issue that then came about with this not beheading, but this hanging of Trey Reed. Now they're out here with the bullshit talking about it's a suicide. I'm suspicious of this. It's no motherfucking suicide. If this shit really happened and it is college orientated, it sounds like a couple of things to me. It sounds like this already happened. According to the pictures are pretty older. I'm giving you scenarios. Is this another fraternity sacrifice? Is this another white fraternity sacrifice? Is this another situation with white fraternities sacrificing black kids on campus again? Allegedly, hiring third world people to pull in black people and then kill them, allegedly, for sacrifice. Is this another sexual frequencies that went to the left? What is it? What's happening? What are they trying to ignite? Because another man, what's his name, Corey Zudakadis? And that last name, I tried looking it up. They're talking about that. Really, that's not a common name in America. It's like no connections. So we have one man, Indian, talk about he's a brown person. So make sure, black people, label yourself right, because they're tying them into us. We don't know what it is, but it's on social media. With this Trey Reed, something's not right about it. Okay? And we have to be careful because they are creating these cult of Charlies. And these cult of Charlies are alt-rights. And I've been telling you again about these alt-rights. And the bottom line is that these are little baby Yahtzees. And they're creating more baby Yahtzees. That's why I was talking earlier. No, we have to watch the new blonde explosion because it's going back to Yahtzees. And to go back to Trey Reed, we have to make sure and understand, is this a fetish propaganda? Because you know what is very interesting, and the double standard of this, but you have to remember it's on Earth. They're making this big deal about Charlie Kirk. But what blows my mind is all the propaganda from the Holocaust. I would like to know, what do these people think about all of the propaganda and sexual propaganda and evilness that they have showed in the world that has happened to melanated black people from white society? And they keep rolling this, right? Or maybe that's why they're trying to hide it. They don't want to show the pictures of the white people eating blacks and all that shit. They don't want to show that. We have a picture that keeps swarming around social media of all type of black men who were lynched and skinned. So it sounds like that we need some kind of underground history energy because they're playing in our faces. I'm very interested. What's his name? Jared Leto. He has a whole cult allegedly in Croatia, an Aryan cult. All these blonde-headed, look like most of them were blonde-headed white women, and he has dark hair. He's gonna be in that new Tron. I said, what type of white supremacy is going on here? That black man that allegedly stabbed, as they noted it, the Ukrainian refugee, they want to make sure that you understand that his family ain't shit, his sister ain't shit, his brother ain't shit. So he ain't shit. Then I start feeling the ways. I said, my whole father's family, just about all of them are criminals. Damn. So they gonna make sure to research your whole goddamn family and say you ain't shit. I don't believe that story one bit, and I still stand on it. When you look at the pictures, something don't sound right, and they made sure to say the poor Ukrainian refugee. What do you mean? And where did she come from? How do I know she didn't come in during the pandemic and was prostituting? Like with the Russian ladies. The Russians and the Ukrainian ladies came to the United States and was prostituting during the pandemic. It was a whole underground prostitution ring. Still been going on. And for sure, they talk about the Ukrainian prostitutes up in New York. How do I know this? There's a whole documentary talking about it. I don't know what type of acting this is. Just like I was talking about the political acting. Shit, I'm wondering, is Matthew McConaughey Gavin Newsom? I'm still wondering why Jamie Foxx was all up in London Breed's grill. What was he teaching her? You know, they saying with Obama, the light-skinned dude from the 5 Heartbeats was his groomer, allegedly. We don't know shit about all this acting. And creating of stories. We just having a conversation about what? Bewitchery, witchcraft, cyber witching, cyber witchcraft, right? We should never be looking towards people. I'm so disgusted that they done sized up Janet Jackson with Cardi B. That's a disgrace. Janet Jackson by now should be sitting her ass down. But they're making sure to pull her down. When she married that Middle Eastern motherfucker, that's when shit went to the left. She under Asian law. They're gonna make sure she work out that contract, cause she don't have to. But I guess they bought the likes of her. Who knows? But it's a disgrace. Anybody that partners up with Cardi B, you're just a disgrace. We should never condone that. It's horrendous. And we can't claim her as a black person because it's full of propaganda. She's having her 4th kid with a different nigga. That's trifling as a motherfucker. What's this? Is it Future? Not Future. What is it? What's his name? Here I go. Now, is it Offset? Offset's sperm haven't even dried up in her vagina yet. She just been having his babies. His tissues is still in her body. Offset. That means this baby is not this new nigga baby. It's Offset's baby. Because Offset, that's the body. She didn't allegedly have 3 children by Offset. So is she pregnant with this person? She's still healing from the last baby, allegedly. And we're still trying to figure out what happened to that pregnancy, in 2022? When she was in France, talking about, I'm pregnant. And then that baby disappeared, just like Eve's baby disappeared, just like Rihanna's baby disappeared. Allegedly. You know, it's cyber world, so you know how this is. Like when Eve was pregnant, like we just didn't see her sitting on that talk show she was on, pregnant as a motherfucker. And then pretending like she wasn't pregnant. And then she has this baby later. Social media. Like Rihanna was not pregnant when she went and relaunched that Fenty stuff. What was that, 2021? 2020? Around there, 2021, 2021, somewhere. If that. Maybe it was 2019, 2020. She was pregnant. Then the baby disappears. Cardi B was in France. Pregnant. Baby disappears. So therefore, she has these 3 pregnancies. This last baby, Offset sperm is not even dried up in her vagina yet. Tissues are still healing, and she pregnant with another one. That's a whole bitch. And we need to stop playing. That's a whole bitch. And old school black moms like, that's a bitch. Oh. What is she? And she not even divorced from Offset, right? And this is being condoned. And somebody was saying, well, she's under contract. Yeah, that's an Asian contract. Just like Nick Cannon, that's an Asian contract. Do you know back in the day they would hide that and just say that's Offset's baby? A lot of black women wouldn't even admit that they up there pregnant with another dude. Kid that damn quick. Do we just give her what she is and say she's Caribbean? Latina? We don't want this connected to our universal soul. Right? That's very negative. That's not a good look. And some of you out there talk about she don't give a fuck, she don't make any excuses. No. That's a whole bitch. And she doing whole shit. That's a loosey goosey. Bottom line. Indignant. That is slave mentality. That is Caribbean plantation shit. She's acting like a plantation bedwench. That's a mentality. Her PR and management team is supposed to hide that. That goes to show what it is now. Throwing that fucking cyber witchcraft on women. That's cyber witchcraft. That ain't cute. It's nasty. Now, and some of y'all say, how can you talk? Because I've been a harlot before. And I know a harlot when I see it. She's a whore of Babylon. Shit, that's why. And when you're the whore of Babylon, that's a cold game and a cold piece of witchcraft. Allegedly. Lil' Kim in this indigo outfit. Can we just denounce Lil' Kim? Because I don't know who that is that was up in that indigo outfit, but she's looking real bad and horrible. And other men are looking at her, and other people who in the industry know the what's up. And they're saying that it looked like she just all fucked up. That she was just an industry whore. And been in for a long time. And they've been tearing her ass up for years. Since the fucking 80s. We don't know what's going on with that. But it needs to stop. The movie Demon Slayer. It's been something going on with these nasty ass men out here molesting and kidnapping 8-year-old children. allegedly, that movie Demon Slayer, there was a man that stood up and ejaculated on a child. The fuck? And he was a black man. But when I'm looking at him, he looked third world. Just like the man that allegedly kidnapped this 8-year-old little white girl, took her to a hotel room, and they found her, and he was up in there butt naked. And I said, damn, that looked like the same man that was up in the movie theater, but both of these people look third world. What the fuck is going on there? How in the fuck does he stand up and then ejaculate? And nobody, how he get that far? Who is he sitting next to? What the fuck is going on here? And it was crowded up in there. In the movie theater. I seen that interesting energy, the whole zodiac fight, right? With Damon Wayans, not Damon Wayans, but with Damon Dash, Charlemagne, and Envy. And then Just Hilarious. They just sacrificed Just Hilarious in that shit. They just pulled that energy, to cause a whole uproar, because she's an Aquarius. I said, I don't have time to be listening to Damon Dash, and he up there lying, arguing with Charlemagne, a damn Cancer. Y'all in the same house together. I'm literally up here looking at a water and earth fight. That's not a fight. That's just family cutting up. Then all of a sudden, I'm seeing what's his name? Cameron get it. I'm not taking this shit seriously. All you niggas wearing dentures. Cameron wearing dentures. I'll see Mace wearing dentures. And I don't know, Damon Dash wearing dentures. I said, is this even Damon Dash? Because that don't look like Damon Dash in some dentures. And we all know Damon Dash cuts up and say all type of shit, but this is a ritual. It's not real. This is what you call a cyber zodiac fight. They all friends. They cool. Everybody knows Charlemagne is a Cancer and he runs, and so what? Right? So we shouldn't even be talking about that in the first place. Because I cannot take that seriously. Not Damon Dash, not with him being a damn Taurus. At a Cancer? I don't know what's going on with that what's his name? I'm in here. Matter of fact, let me talk about this first. Iggy Azalea Azalea, whatever, was on that Neon streaming, and she was running her mouth. I don't trust anybody that let T.I. pimp her and steal her from her mother at 17 years old. And then now she want to talk about, what's his name, that Cardi, that Playboy Cardi, and tell his business. I don't care if a woman is escorting or pimping herself, but I have an energy where you're getting pimped. And I don't have time to hear nothing. And we're going to have to be careful, because we have Neon. He has all the white people on his shit. Right? And what the hell? And this person, singer dead apparently. Who lived in the house? Okay, DRVD. What is going on with this person? I don't know. What's his name? Josh Marshall. Josh Marshall, man. Something said DRVD. So did he sit up and kill his girlfriend, or did somebody kill her? She was chopped up. And let me tell you something. These fools be on some other shit. And he may not have did that shit. It be other people who be doing these rituals. And why is Joy, and now her name is Joy Ann Reed, where she was Joy Reed. She's on this podcast. What's it called? Way Up. Why is she on there? With that, what's her name that was on, what's it, The Breakfast Club? Why is she on here? Why is Joy Reid on here? These people are hard up out here, huh? How come her and what's his name? That Lemon, or I'm about to call him John Lemon. Is his name John Lemon? What's his name? The other, why don't they do something together? Are these people not who they were? And what's going on, what's going on with Ray J? That he was on that Kai shit. So Kai is for Negroes and Neon is for white folks. What's happening here? And is Neon in competition with that Kai stuff, or are these all the same people? Because they're third world. Right? We just talking, we just having a conversation. We have Indian people trying to say de-influence you from career, having a fashion career. There's Indians pushing this. Don't believe it. They just don't want your black asses in it because they want to monopolize it, because everything is going to India and China, but especially India. There's a little energies. We see that we still have the energies going on in Louisiana with them still poisoning people and shit and not trying to clean up the whole energies that's going on in Amy. Was it Amy, Louisiana? All that spell work. Did you see Wendy Williams at the fashion show? This person that they're calling Wendy Williams, more and more, we just have to know that these are men. Ivana Trump, you know her flat or whatever, her place is not selling. They saying it's too ghosty. Yeah, because she was sacrificed. She was fucked up. They harmed her. Shit. That woman not leaving there. You might as well hang that up. Every time I look at the video, I see her silhouette. What the fuck you talking about? That was a cold energy. Senator Cory Booker and FBI Director Kash Patel have a shout out. Did you see that acting? That was horrible acting, wasn't it? Anyway, just a little tidbit, just a little conversation here of frequencies that's going on, and talking about the movie Him and connections. Anyway, this is Wayward Renegade Witches Blog. Hit us up when you want some real motherfucking work done.